Hello, world. This is Two Grumpy Old Men. I'm Tim Bagwell, and I'm here with.
Rich Garling, how you doing, world?
Yes,
What? Are, so,
yes,
Tim, I'm going to ask you
yes,
today.
sir.
What are we talking about? I think it's fairly
We're
obvious.
talking about the context. We're talking about the context of why there's a demonstrations this weekend called "No Kings." No Kings meaning we don't need kings. It should almost say no dictators. Um, but he does have a family. I think he wants to let it inherit the United States of America.
Well,
So
kings are dictators by a different name.
yes,
you
yes, yes. So
know,
they, yeah, he has all the makings. Wants the coinage, wants the awards, wants the, everybody to love him for no good reasons. And like I've noted before, not in this program, but I've noted in conversations with friends, I always try to emphasize the fact every monarchical family was descended from a criminal at one point,
yeah, yeah, very true,
at least one point.
very true.
Murderers and thieves is what most royal families come from. They
Yeah,
don't. They're all clean and fancy now, but their ancestors got them there by, uh, you know,
and,
death and thievery.
yeah,
So
and you
then this
think
is what
about
we
it,
got.
and if people think about it, I mean, the whole reason. Whoops, there goes my camera.
Oh,
I hate it when
are
that.
you okay, Rich? Are you okay?
Oh my God, I fell. I can't get up. Well, that add a little bit of excitement to
I had
the
to charge my phone first before I call 911.
yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, but it's um, I think a lot of people the image of a king has become softened over the centuries, the decades. And you look at the British monarchy, and they're basically toothless when you get down to it. Yeah, they're the head of state, so to speak, but you get down to it, they have no real power, and all the power is in the people. Okay, with the parliament over there, and they have a prime minister who, interestingly enough, if we had a similar system like that, then Donald Trump probably would have lost a no confidence vote by now.
Exactly.
He would have lost a
Exactly.
no confidence vote back, in this
And
first term.
any number of good people could have been prime minister and head of state by this time. We would have Al Gore or Ted Kennedy. Maybe they're only there for a year, but we get them.
Yeah, yeah, and so.
Yeah, call an election.
Yep. That the problem with our system, of course, but and it's 250 some years old, and that, but yet, um, I guess the difference here is that with the parliamentary system that the British have, or even that the Germans or the French and all them have, is that it's the parliament that decides whether or not someone's going to remain prime minister, and of course the prime minister has to come from the majority party, that's there, and that. Whereas here, it's ultimately it's the people that decide. Uh, Perhaps we've got more stability, as a result that it's not so easy to remove somebody from the office of president or from any other office in there. Say it's, because how many
Well,
different offices, can have to go through, oh God, now all of a sudden I can't think of the word I'm looking for, impeachment. How many, different officers have to, literally go through impeachment,
right,
and
right,
that because, for instance, the Supreme Court, Trump can't fire any of them, and that,
right.
so
Well, the thing is with the parliamentary system is you just call for an election. You don't necessarily have to have all your ducks in a row for impeachment for all the proving all the points. You
hmm
simply there's enough there. Call for a vote of no confidence. Get the guy out. And never call him back again.
right, exactly.
I use the term he. They did it to Prime Minister May over there in England, but the UK. But yeah,
Well,
but our No Kings movement
right. What's been going on in France?
rises out of.
What about France? Because Macron had to basically reappoint what is it? The president, I guess they call him.
No, Macron's the president, and then there's a prime minister.
Right.
They do the
But the president over
yeah,
there has
they
more
have the
power than the
reciting.
prime minister
Oh,
has.
I'm sorry. He's the premier.
Oh, premier.
He's the
Okay.
premier, which is the
Same thing
same
as the
yeah,
president. Yeah.
title wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we need to check that, but I'm pretty sure he's a premier. They're either premiers or presidents, depending on how they evolved.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, that guy wasn't even there. He was just there a few months, and then there was a new. And that's not the worst. If only we could have gotten Trump out of office in 3 months.
Well,
Uh,
but actually,
and there was
I
base,
just
but
looked,
Trump.
Tim, I just looked it up, and Macron is the president of France,
Okay,
and
okay.
that. But uh, um,
What's your source?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, probably
The
the
world's
Congress.
library at my
Probably,
fingertips.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But is it true? Uh, the back to the no kings, our no kings, and our problems that we have. The Yeah, I think for an example, two things. Your recent article on no warrants, warrantless raids that are happening in your part of all over the United States, but especially in Chicago area, and then the the targeting of small boats outside of Venezuela, in international waters outside of Venezuela, as if those small boats are going to make the about 500-mile trip. Maybe you need to look that up between.
Yeah, no, they won't have enough gas to do
Yeah,
that, from what I
no, no,
understand.
but they get shot when there's usually teens of people on there at least, near 20 people on each of those boats, and it's murder.
Yeah, yeah,
Plain and simple. Trump and Hegseth are ordering murder, and and apparently a lot of this targeting is done from facilities not, they're drone navigators being told to do the hit. It might as well be a game. It might
right.
as well be a game.
Well,
So
and
so
people hadn't noticed the pictures that they see on the news, of that boat exploding, literally comes from the drone that just shot a missile at it, basically a small, missile, but a powerful one that blew that boat out of the water, and that's the only reason they got those pictures. Yeah, but you also see, and it's not just it's let's put a bunch of things together because he's doing something that hasn't ever really been done in this country, since really the Civil War, I guess you could say, by trying to call out the military, okay, and that, but he's using a bunch of things as a distraction. What the heck's he?
yeah,
He's sitting there with the Gaza thing, okay, with supposed peace in Gaza,
oh yeah,
when what he wants to do is build the Taj Mahal in Gaza, and all that. He's got it in case people hadn't noticed. But recently, what it was, that Qatar is going to build a training center in Idaho for their pilots so that
yeah,
they can train off of the
yeah,
military gear that we sent to them. But yet, back when Trump was in his first administration, he was calling them, terrorists. Okay, but now he's making all kinds of billion-dollar deals with these guys, and in particular, a lot of these Arab countries have been buying up his crypto coins. And that,
oh
yeah,
yeah.
they've been putting billions of
Basically,
dollars into crypto, and that,
yeah.
and so Trump is
The
making
most
money
corrupt,
left and right off of that
most
one. Oh,
yeah,
that
it's
is,
the most corrupt. It is the most corrupt administration almost anywhere.
yeah.
Again, no kings. He's kind of like King Leopold. Where his Congo, King Leopold of Belgium, who mercilessly exploited the Congo, the people of the Congo,
Mm-hmm.
for the resources, killing people, basically slave like conditions, and to enrich himself. You know, and probably the most recent, really really bad king. Trump's not there yet, but he's pushing the envelope.
Oh, he's
Uh,
certainly trying to be there, and then the thing is, people wonder, well, why is it that so many people out there in the world, particularly in Africa and other places, um, don't like the Europeans and the United States. It's
Yeah,
because we raped them, for crying out loud, and all that. But
yeah,
but we're
yeah.
not allowed to tell that kind of history, particularly in our schools, because wow, it just makes everybody feel bad. Well, and I get over it. The
Well,
case.
what they need to learn I've seen some YouTubers who put this information out, which is really good, really quality information. Because the racists want to contend, well, our people founded this country, so it's our country, and we do what we want to with it. It's like, well, who do you think owns it? Do you own the country? I don't think so.
Yeah,
It's owned by billionaires.
yeah.
That's the problem. But then, but then, why are we so? Why is the United States so unique? Why is our American exceptionalism? Was it the people? Yeah, a little bit. But it's I wish I had the names of the YouTubers. Next, we'll get better at this as we go along. But what they were, it was our geography, our river system,
Hmm.
our intercoastal waterway, and our deep water ports. All we have a larger intercoastal waterway than the rest of the world combined. We have more deep water ports than the rest, not than well than any other country.
Yeah.
And our river system went up into the Great Plains, the biggest one of the biggest agricultural swaths on the planet. That's what made us great is that transportation, lowering the cost of goods and allowing us to
Well, and
to
the fact
move
that we could
quickly
grow
and
so
to
much
move.
of it. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and this is forgotten. This great geographic advantage is forgotten, and it's not taught enough. It's not taught enough. This is the basis, and then some people showed up from here, some people showed up from there, and some made a lot of money, some made not so much money. This is the thing that a series of accidents, if you will, or happenstance chances, all based on a really outstanding geography that just is unparalleled. Unparalleled. And the fact that we have two friendly neighbors then. Well, they used to be friendly until we pissed them off, till Trump pissed them off. So, yeah, yeah. So we had all those advantages, but there are these. He's taken advantage of this to build this MAGA movement, and really, no kings is the answer to MAGA. I think is what they're trying to do. It's kind of an interesting title, but it actually is better than no dictators. That's more writing on your on your
Right.
on your
Yeah.
sides.
Well, no Kings is certainly easier to understand, and all that, and I think I was reading the other day about at the end of our Declaration of Independence, because we always have to keep in mind that the Declaration of Independence really was just a series of grievances against King George. Okay, and the very last one, from, as I recall from my reading of the Declaration of Independence, was that he was using the Indians, the savages, against us. Okay, and the thing that we were really jealous of when it came down to the Indian tribes at the time, the Iroquois, as an example, they were very well organized people. They had a government there that they understood how to make movements of people, particularly their warriors, so that they could use them effectively against us. But the thing they had to do to make it so that the people in the 13 colonies had an interest in attacking these people was they had to bedevil them. They had to make it so that these people were the devil, and that they were the worst
Right.
thing in the world, and that because
That's what they.
yeah, and so so we've been doing what Trump has been trying to do, to make us pissed off at all the wrong people, out there. We've been doing this since before our country started. you know, this is
Exactly.
nothing
Yeah.
new.
Well, and this is. I mean, all countries do it. They have their the other. What's called the other, the someone who's different, then we will blame them for whatever's going on.
Right?
They become the threat. They become the threat. They become the threat to our daughters, or
Yeah,
at a very basic
precisely.
level. At a very basic level. Also the The other and the new terrifies people, and this is a basis for engendering a MAGA type movement that is just hateful and spiteful. And the recent young Republican scandal is an example.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
well, and another thing about teaching history is that in the '60s, all the way into the '60s, there was this mythology of the. And I guess we kind of needed the mythology of the German efficiency state, the threat of the German efficiency state, but the truth was not so efficient, and a lot of very poor choices about trying to win a war. You know, they made terrible choices that were bordered on the absurd, and that's why they lost. And uh, besides the efforts of the Soviet Union and the United States and our allies, but but we don't teach that enough
Hmm.
because these young Republicans with their group chat who saying they like certain German I'm not going to say the H word. I'm not going to say his name, but their fascination with the fascist was disheartening. Yeah. Yeah, but people were saying this is the end of the GOP. I said the gone old party.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and it's funny too. I've seen Facebook memes out there that sit there and say the original Antifa, and the original Antifa was the soldiers that invaded Normandy, from the United States and Britain and France and other countries, who went out to defeat the fascists, the Nazis and everything,
Yes.
because people don't understand what Antifa stands for at times, and all it really stands for is
Yeah.
anti-fascist. It's just a shortened,
Right.
phrase for it,
Right.
and
Right.
everything. But and it's funny because Trump is sitting there trying to make it seem like it's some kind of an organization out there, and the reality is it really isn't. you know,
Right.
and
Right.
the whole
It's so
thing,
hard to.
well, the whole thing with No Kings too is that he's trying to make it seem like it's something that like George Soros is paying for, and the reality is that nobody's paying for it. No,
No.
this is a popular uprising. Whether he likes it or not. People are getting pissed off. About all of
Right.
this,
Right.
and the interesting thing is and I was thinking about this recently. Those shootings that happened down in, I think it was Mississippi or Louisiana, at those high schools. Okay,
Yeah.
and then the one that happened in South Carolina, at another school there, and who is really getting hit the most? I did a map. Hang on. Oops. Hang on a second. I did a map that showed. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it here. Ah, is this it? Uh, no, that's expanding the house.
Excuse me.
Where did I do that? Just trying to find it here. In which what it showed was the number of, you know, uh, you take Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, stuff like that, and who are the states that use it the most? It's the red states. Okay. Now he's trying to get rid of Medicaid. All right, and who really uses that the most? It's the red
The
states.
red states.
Yeah, and so he's the impact of that is just starting to hit them hard. Okay, and so what happens? Those people are starting to get pissed off. They're getting they're
Right.
getting
Well, and the
frustrated with
ACA
it.
people are the ACA subscribers are also
Yeah.
red
Well, they're
states.
not going to, yeah,
They're, yeah.
they're going to get hit here shortly. With the impact of that one. They haven't quite got hit with it
Yeah.
yet,
And
but they're going
that
to.
will get the rise in premiums will knock millions of people off of it
Oh
because they
yeah,
will not be able to afford
oh yeah, and that's when
it. It
they're
doesn't make any sense. It makes except it doesn't make any sense except in terms of making people fearful of everything.
right,
Uh, you know,
right.
right, and blaming Democrats for everything, and yeah. But I think we're turning hopefully with things like this weekend, and it'll be very interesting test this weekend with deployments and with and he's the courts have come down against his deployments. of troops into California, Illinois. I'm assuming that they'll be rolling over into the other deployments he's done, and um, that we may see some turnaround. But he just continually. He's now well, first of all, Mike Johnson is stopping the swearing in of the Arizona congresswoman who was elected,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, and
I
this is
swear.
that's part of the no no kings. Their thing is no Epstein files.
Right,
What they're
right,
we're doing no kings. They're doing no Epstein files.
right.
That's what they're doing.
Right. Well,
Right. And the
well, isn't all that other stuff a distraction then? Because you get down to it, the real thing is
right.
that he doesn't want
The
those
indictments.
Epstein files out. You-
Yeah, and then the indictments was the other thing I was going to mention in this. The continual indictments, which everybody's kind of like,
Yeah, yeah.
because the same thing happens. They screw something up. They don't do something right. The thing will be thrown out.
Well, they,
Bolton will be an
when you've
interesting
got
case, but I wonder if Bolton
when you got
has
nothing
things that
there,
they don't under.
yeah, yeah. They got nothing there.
Well,
They know it.
I wonder if Bolton has information that's harmful to Trump. That would be the interesting thing.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
National, yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
He could
national
because now
security
he could
wise.
bring that out in court, and be like, "Oh, hey, look at this,"
There you go. Yeah, look at this.
and now that.
Yeah. So these are all the documents that show Trump's complicity with Putin. It's it could be something like that,
Yeah,
but we just don't know yet. But this is all a distraction from the Epstein files, and the problem with them is they don't have time enough. I don't think they have time enough to stretch Epstein out to avoid an impact on the elections in 2026. That's too far away, and the Epstein files will come out. And we're just waiting for one congresswoman to be sworn in, and I don't know what the release procedure is when Congress does get a hold of it, but you would think. And the thing is, and I think Woody Allen came out saying something about this, that the scope of it is huge. Epstein's network, and it's just disgusting if you think about it. How widespread the pedophilia is. And uh, a really a terrible reflection on our society, but also on allowing millionaires and billionaires to do whatever they want.
right,
And
right.
get away with it.
Yeah.
And get away with it.
And that's Trump's whole thought too, because he's been so used to getting away with things. And I can remember in the uh, uh, debates that he had with Hillary back in 2016. And at one point, Hillary was, rattling up, one thing after another that Trump had done. And his response to it was, well, why didn't anybody ever stop me? But now that we're working on stopping him, particularly during the Biden administration and all this, he of course tried to use the well, wait, actually, I'm sorry, he used the system successfully. But now,
Right.
but now, of course, he understands how that system, how to use that, how to twist it the way he wants it. So that way, but so what he's trying to do is to prevent others from being able to do the same thing, and he doesn't like it when it does happen to him, and that's why
Right.
he's got the courts. He thought he had the lower courts stacked, but he's finding out that no. Particularly this recent case in Chicago was just yesterday. The appeals court, three judges, one appointed by him, one appointed by George W. Bush, and one appointed by Barack Obama. Three judges who all unanimously agreed there ain't no insurrection going on here. You don't know what the heck you're
Yeah.
talking about, and all that. But
Yes.
now they'll just go run to all their buddies in the Supreme Court, and they'll turn around and they'll try to figure out some kind of, even if it doesn't make sense, they're going to sit there and come out with a decision that says, well, yeah, he can do this. Yeah,
Well, they've had a few. I don't know if they can stretch it that far, but that'll be interesting
yeah,
if the Supreme Court. And we're still waiting in the Supreme Court on the Voting Rights Act,
right.
where again they're trying to reinforce this. We did that program on expanding the House. You expand the House enough, all right, gerrymandering doesn't happen anymore. If you do it, if you have a formula for the for the size that you want to have in terms of the population and the size. Yeah, you get the kind of districts that are contiguous, and
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sure.
that's all I'm saying.
Unless you make that illegal, Tim, they're going to figure out a way to do it. And
Well,
that,
I'm saying what I'm saying is that you will get your minority representation.
yeah,
You will get your minority representation out of that, and I believe that's my solemn belief, and I'm sticking with it. My hope for that, you know. But here's how paranoid. I wanted to point out how paranoid this is. When I was getting messages from No Kings, they were asking for my information, for the sign up, and I was, basically they're, innocently on the innocent side, they're getting information so that they can feed more information to me regarding action against the administration. But a little voice in me said, someone somewhere is accumulating hundreds of thousands, at least hundreds of thousands of names of people who are active.
yeah,
Somebody in the No Kings movement,
right,
there is information out there, and if they're not the ones abusing it, someone else could get to it and abuse it,
right,
or abuse us.
right.
I'm just paranoid, but I have a right to be paranoid because you know there's the knock at the door now.
Hey,
Oh, it won't be a knock. It'll just be
I
a big.
I had a
It'll just
friend.
be a big sound.
I had a friend of mine who sent me an email, a text message. It was, and he um, he said it was from the Daily Cause. Actually, it says how to prepare phones for No King's Day events. And one of the first things he suggested is that you turn off the biometrics. Okay,
Yeah,
because then they'll
yeah. They
sit
can
there.
make you do the biometric.
Right, so if they're taking you into custody, they'll just use your face or your thumb, to open up your telephone, and all that. But if you set it so that it has to use a password code of some sort, then you can just shut up and say, "I don't know it." So uh,
The
that should be interesting in and of itself. Um, I just know that if trouble does start at the one that we're going to go to, and we didn't sign up for, we're just going to go, and that, but the one that we're going to go to, if any kind of trouble starts, well, then Gail and I are just going to head the opposite direction, and because
right.
we're too old for that,
Yeah, we're too old to be. Hey, you push us down, or something's going to break or hurt.
exactly, and all that, and so
Yeah,
for us, it's best that we continue the fight like what you and I are doing here, and that and everything, because this is what we're good at in the way of doing the fight, and that, and so hopefully we got young people that are going to be stepping up, and
yeah.
stuff,
And I
and
think I think we do. I
yeah,
think we do.
and the thing is, and I haven't really seen it yet because people keep trying to push ice back. And in my opinion, hey, just sit down. Don't move. Now they're going to have to come in there and force you out, to move, and all that. They're going to try to hit you with pepper balls and tear gas and what have you. Well, my understanding is that gas masks are pretty easily available online. I would certainly be getting a gas
Well,
mask.
this is the part I don't understand. You remember? I think it was back when did Japan have big unrest? And I remember seeing the Japanese demonstrators with helmets.
Yeah. Uh huh. Oh yeah.
They came
Oh
prepared.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like why aren't we wearing helmets to our No
You
Kings
know, somebody
events?
going
You
out
know,
and getting a bicycle helmet. Okay, doesn't cost that much money, and they're colorful and they're funny at times, and everything, and they can easily wear those out there, and that. Getting a gas mask, even if it's just a simple one, isn't that hard to get, and that, you don't have to put up with the tear gas, and that, and when they say they hit you with the tear gas and the pepper balls, and you're still standing there, it's going to freak them out. Because these guys, are expecting that. Well, we're just going to, bully them and push them back. Well, don't let them do that. Just stand there. Do just like Martin Luther King used to say.
but I wonder. I wonder. You may recall that the 2025 people were had a sign up for you if you wanted to work in the administration. And I wonder how many of the MAGA people, signed up, and these are who we're dealing with. They didn't get executive jobs in the government. They got the hateful ICE jobs. And it's primarily ICE. Maybe, yeah, I don't know about the field agents anymore, the FBI, but the ICE agents, especially the way they expanded, are almost certainly, have a lot of Trump MAGA type people who have not had proper training or understanding of civil law, civil rights, uh, criminal procedure, all that.
No,
They don't
I'm sure
understand.
they're training. I'm sure they're just training them on how to use
Why
the
else are
gun
they
and
wearing masks? Why else are they wearing masks?
right, right, because they
It's
know what they're doing is
no bad.
illegal. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they don't want retribution, but they're willing
yeah.
to dish out retribution. It's kind of funny.
And here's the terrible thing. The terrible thing about our future is that, not terrible necessarily, but a challenging thing about the future is that, do the Democrats have the kahunas to prosecute
Right.
with prejudice?
Yes.
They prosecute because nearly every member, almost every, I believe, there's a basis for almost every member appointed by Trump in this administration to be under indictment, just like he's trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is all on public display, though.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
See,
it's all the dodging, and I think it all comes tumbling down with them. And this will be the challenge for America. How much pedophilia shit are we willing? We're willing to put up with kids being killed by gunmen. Are we willing to, look the other way when politicians and rich people were participating in a pedophile ring,
yeah.
a pedophile network,
When
pedophile network?
when you got people who are sitting there and they kidnap our daughters, okay, and they use them for sex. Okay, let's put it down in plain, simple language. They use these kids for sex, and all that. And they're raping them, they're beating them, they're destroying these kids, and that they're our daughters, our sons, and everything. So
No, there's
so the
yeah,
real
that
question,
too.
Tim, the real question comes down to, put plain and simply, when are we going to punch back? How much
Yeah,
longer are we going to put up with this
yeah.
crap?
And how do we punch back? And how do we punch back?
Yes.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to
and
punch back. You don't have to do it physically. It's a metaphor,
yeah.
obviously. But the point is when are we
We're
going to do it?
we are in a right now. They've made the case we are an authoritarian regime. We are in an authoritarian regime right now, and what they're not saying is that that means we're also nearing a revolutionary status.
Hmm.
That we're on the verge of something of a revolution. We don't know what that is, but authoritarian regimes beg to be resisted and overthrown. And yeah, and perhaps America has a procedural way to do that, but we also had a very bloody way. We've done this before,
Hmm.
and it was bloody.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully we'll avoid that. But there's got to be a line drawn somewhere, and some of these people will flee the country,
Yeah.
and yeah,
You know,
yeah. So we need to, I just don't know what I I don't know what the plan is.
and the thing that really irritates me, that makes me a grumpy old man around, and that too, is the fact that there's a lot of us retired folks out there who, we worked to get to this point, to where we could sit back and relax and enjoy, the comforts of our efforts over all these years. And he's gonna mess it up,
Yeah.
and everything. And you look at this and you think to yourself, no, wait a minute, I worked for this. Why can't I
Yes.
have? Why is it that you
It's
want to
our money.
destroy it?
It's our money. It's our money. It's not their money.
Yeah.
They think all capital is their money. There's a culture of capitalism where they think all the money is theirs. Back up your area. Who was she running against? There was a Republican congresswoman in the old Illinois third. Was it third? No, the district about 10 years ago over Naperville. Okay, in the Naperville area. Anderson was running. She overheard Gloria Anderson, who was running for Congress, overheard the congresswoman she was running against say that it's our money when speaking of the federal government's money. It's our money. Social Security is our money.
Yeah. Yeah.
They see it all. They have, yeah. and as if they pay the taxes, as if they generated the cash flow. You know, they don't exchange. They're not in on every exchange of cash.
No.
That's what generates. Yeah,
Well, the
yeah,
thing is that they
fundamental.
think they put in more money than 95% of us out here do. All right, and that, and so you think about it. Who are the tariffs really hitting when you get down to it? They're hitting the middle class of this country.
Yeah,
We're the ones that are now paying extra money for these products. You think the people who make the products are going to pay that tariff? Hell no. Okay, any cost increase that they get, they pass it on to the consumer. Who's the consumer?
yeah,
You and me.
yeah,
And so,
yeah. They
the wealthy, when you get down to it, there's not that many of them, and as such, they really can't buy in the numbers that the rest of us can buy in.
yeah.
And
They have delusions about what their wealth constitutes, about what the scope of their wealth does.
yeah,
They don't understand. First of all, a big chunk of it is just gambling proceeds from stock markets and commodity markets.
right,
They're just gambling,
right.
right? And they're working the margins on huge numbers that they've accumulated. You know, and they do not contribute near as much as they like to think they do. Anyways, near what they think they do. Tesla, a little car company. His little SpaceX seems huge and humongous to us, a drip in the bucket in the world.
Right,
It's
right,
in the
exactly.
wealth of the world and the activity of the world. It's just a drip in the bucket. It just has, it's concentrated and looks impressive. But, he's being beaten by Chinese electric cars. And if we're talking Musk here for a second, and, we're never going to have colonies on Mars.
Not in our lifetimes.
It's just, we got to think about how making the planet work. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, they talk about mining asteroids. That just means if you get a platinum asteroid, the price of platinum just went to hell.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
Did you hear the one
yeah,
about where they
yeah.
want to put a nuclear power plant on the moon?
That's interesting. Well, the moon remains interesting. But yeah, they have an exaggerated. Oh, well, yeah, I guess you might say an exaggerated view of themselves and how much they play in the world.
Yeah.
Even Steve Jobs with his phones. This is an Android, but like, oh, the world has changed because of my iPhone. Yeah, it did, but then I even think AI is overblown. I think we both came out of IT. They were always generating the next thing, the next programming language again and again. The next way of managing information. AI is the most recent. I think, given the pattern of information technology, it's going to have a curve.
Yep. Like everything.
It's going to be very helpful.
Yep.
Yeah,
It'll
there's
go
going to
up
be,
and it'll come back down. you know,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
and so
yeah,
what's-
both
and so the next time it
economically and
goes
in
up, what
terms
is
of.
it going to be? you
Yeah,
know.
I think people will become bored with the use of it. I know you're using it. I'm using it, and it does have some great stuff. But it's not going to. I don't think it's going to change the world. Because there are all these things were going to change the world. All these great inventions were going to change the world, and it just I call it became electronically mediated. Okay, electronic mediation of things that we used to do before. I bet here it's like the telegrams. Telegrams, were probably the first digital, right,
Hmm.
communication. Well, except those bead things in the Andes, among the Andeans. But the transmitted messages point to point, and you go and pick it up. All right, or it's delivered to you. A piece of paper. They got that and type, and they send you and then they deliver it or deliver the message to you. Texting is just point to point telegraphy.
Yeah. Yeah. You know.
For instance, it's just point to point telegraphy. It's great. It's just point to point telegraphy.
Well, hey, another device, and if you look at your history, um, Vladimir Lenin purposely went out and grabbed all of these machines because they were around back in 1918. It's called a mimeograph machine. Okay, do you remember those? You had a big round tube on there, and you put the ink, and you just choom 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 choom, and came out with one piece of paper. Where before that, when you put it into a printing press, you had to put in one piece of paper, bring the press down, and that got to make sure you had all your ink in there. Now you have this machine where you just kind of rolled it and bing 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 bing. And Lenin made sure that he grabbed all of those because that was a tool that he used to foment revolution in Russia at the time, which is what created the Soviet Union. So he understood that, and as soon as he got power, boom! All of a sudden, mimeograph machines were being grabbed up left and right and destroyed because he didn't like the idea.
Yeah,
He didn't want somebody
and that's
else
why
doing it to him.
that's why right.
Huh?
And again, on the curve side of things, and that's why Russia is so great today.
Exactly. But what do we use today? Today we send out an email. Yeah, we send out an email to everybody. We got Facebook, we've got
Yeah.
Instagram. We got all kinds of different ways, to be able to do this, and that, and it's funny because they all seem to think that they're going to be able to control all of this stuff, and it's like, no, I don't think so.
No, they're not. No, and it's not gonna change everything the way you think it's gonna change. I think people. I'm kind of, I'd like to get into the Fulcrum and then into Substack. I'm on both, but I haven't written much out there at all. And I think there are people like me who would like to do that more, and you and a number of my colleagues are doing that out there. But there's a certain, okay. Among the other things I'm doing, is that something I can add to my list?
Yeah.
And you know,
Well, but
and maybe it's because of aging,
yeah,
but
Tim yourself, you've got a lot of other things that are going on, and me, I've got the time, and as you know, I got the thoughts in my head, and I'm just pouring
love
them
your
out.
stuff.
I'm just pouring them out. Everything.
You are.
Well, when I look at something and I think to myself, wait a minute, why is that? And then I start doing research on it because I got a question and I want an answer to that
Yeah.
question. And so I
I,
start to think about it, and then I start writing about it. And I use the tools that are out there today to help me to do this. Okay, and that and I don't, I have no problem with that. And that because I think it's the
well,
idea. It's
I appreciate what you've done here, and putting us together as a team. It's really inspiring. And sometimes, before this episode, I'm like, I'm really tired. I'm starting from yesterday.
but I know that you and I
Yet,
start talking about it, you know. I mean,
you send the invite.
oh yeah. So folks,
So I guess yeah, we went beyond our usual time.
yes, we did. Yes, we did.
We covered a number of topics. We're hopeful that millions of people will be turning out tomorrow for No Kings, and that we shall see what the heck happens.
So just so everybody knows, we will not have a show next week, but we will be back the week after that. We're going to take a week off, okay, and go from there. So everybody, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. My name is Rich Garling, and my cohort in crime,
Tim Bagwell.
and so we wish you well. Go out, no King's Day. Let them know what you're thinking. Bye.
Bye.